Everybody, and welcome to the developer chat here at Privateer Press, March 20th, 2019. I'm Will Hungerford, lead developer at Privateer. With me, as always, is the rest of the dev team: Oz Schoonover, development manager; Jeff Olson, playtest coordinator; and the wonderful behind-the-scenes Tony Konachek, video producer, video director, video boss,
master of video.
Today, we will be chatting with all of you about the final week of the Infernal CID, some of the changes that got made, and what's going on. We are live streaming on Twitch and Facebook, so please feel free to ask any questions. We'll get to them as we can. We obviously can't get to all of them. And if you're checking this out later on YouTube, where these get posted afterwards, if you see us talking and saying random names, that's what's going on there.
Yeah, and we have already gotten questions in the chat about this one being called CID Wrap-Up. The CID officially ends on the 25th, which is Monday, but this is our final show for it, which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
So
before we jump in, as usual, we have some announcements. But to let you know, at the end of the normal announcements, we have something really special to show everybody. I'll get to that in a second. So first off, let me talk about the stream schedule this week and next week. So every Wednesday and Thursday is our regular shows. Dev Hangout on Wednesdays, Get Your Paint On Thursdays. Come talk to us on Wednesdays about the game. Hang out with Jordan as he paints miniatures on Thursdays. And then we have two monthly shows. We have the Staff Showdown, where two of us get together. Sometimes more than two of us, actually.
Depends on the game.
When Riot Quest comes out, it'll definitely be more than two of us. And we throw down and do like live battles. And then Primecast Live is where we get people from throughout the company to come on and talk about what's going on at Privateer Press. The next Primecast Live is actually this Friday. So make sure you check that out. Heads up to everyone that next week's streams are going to be different because all of Dev and Jordan are gone to Adepticon.
And Danny.
Danny.
Yeah, if you want to...
Which means like we couldn't even like replace Jordan with like a cool
terrain thing.
If Danny will be gone.
If you want to stare at us for an hour live instead of staring at us on a screen for an hour, you can do that in the Chicago area next week.
We will live stream to your face.
We will live exist to your face.
So there's no Get Your Paint On next week. But instead of the dev chat on Wednesday, it is the very highly requested, much beloved lore chat with Doug C. Cat. So next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Live CFAX.
Live CFAX. Come hang out with Doug and talk about lore. I'm sure it'll be very Infernal related, but Doug, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Could be.
I want to bring up real fast Mini Crate to everyone. There's some cool stuff going on. So the current Mini Crate model is the Ancestral Guardian Angel, which is available till April 19th.
Yep.
I know some people are just seeing it for the first time. I want to write "Don't Blink" on the base for all you Doctor Who fans out there.
It is a big statue of an angel.
It is a big statue of an angel, right?
I get it. I'm not following.
Yeah, I'm sure. And don't forget, if you do the 6-month sub right now, the VIP model is still the absolute amazing and adorable.
The greatest thing of all time.
Yeah, the greatest resculpt of all time, Bride of Arcadius.
Mostly because of the little pig she's holding under her arm.
I know.
He's about to get another injection.
he got one already. He's got a little Band-Aid.
He's
right on his little bum.
Yeah.
Also, for you Legend of the Five Rings fans, this is the last week to order Bayushi Soju of the Scorpion Clan. So April 5th is the last day to be able to get that. So make sure you order your Bayushi very soon. One other thing, Lock and Load's coming up real soon.
It is. June
21st to 23rd. It's like right around the corner.
It'll be here quicker than you think.
Yeah, we will blink and it will be here for sure.
Tickets still on sale. Go to pplockandload.com. Pick up your tickets. We will live stream directly into your face there as well. So come hang out and see us. All right. So before we go full on the CID, I have something Infernal related I want to talk about. I was just in Reno at Gamma.
Yeah.
And at Gamma, I was doing presentations for the retailers and distributors, and I was talking about 3 different things. What's coming up for Monster Apocalypse, where we announced we are making neoprene mats for Monster Apocalypse to replace your poster maps. Get hype. They look fantastic. There'll be more details on those in the future. We talked a lot about Riot Quest, which there was a ton of excitement for amongst the retailers, especially when we explained how the game flows and sort of how casual it can be and how quickly you can play.
Yeah.
And the low model count. People were very, very excited about that. And then we talked about upcoming Oblivion, the narrative campaign, and all the great stuff coming up in Oblivion, which again generated a lot of excitement, especially for stores that wanted something to really service their casual narrative gamers. We showed off a new piece of art in it talking about the narrative. And we showed just a little clip of it. So we're going to show that to you now. This is a full battle scene from Oblivion that kind of sets the tone of the kind of things you can expect.
Yeah. Bam.
Wow.
Conceivably one of my favorite pieces of art we've ever done. And I think it does show the size of the Infernal Masters in scale proper.
Now, no guarantee that he'll be exactly that scale in miniatures form because we are adjusting scales because of cost and that kind of stuff. But that's
nonsense.
But the idea is that they are not human beings. They are weird external reality creatures that
That dude is twice the size of a warjack.
they're big and scary.
I also I was paying so much attention to Omodemos right in the center of the thing that I totally missed that Valen Hawk is over on.
Valen Hawk's over there. There's some other stuff going on.
That is not an ancestral guardian angel attacking, by the way.
That
is your first look at an Archon who is coming down from the heavens to bop him in the back of the nugget, but also rip.
That's a technical term.
Yeah.
You don't know that about Hungerford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But rip Connie B, because she is not okay.
No, she's gonna totally win that fight.
Yeah?
She's got that other knight over there with his mace flailing in the air. He's gonna save her.
They all dead. Tony, being the amazing video producer you are, could you make that the new background for the dev chat?
Wow. Bam.
Dude.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
You're ridiculous. I love you so much. So with that as our new background, the angel is nice and perfectly positioned right here.
I like that.
Gotta help.
Wait, wrong. This one. I like that he's right here.
No, dude.
So let's jump into it, shall we?
Yeah.
CID week 3 changes. There's been a few major categorical changes. Let's start with the biggest one and kind of what ended up fueling the week 3 update 2 the most. And that was the changes to summoning. Summoning received kind of I want to say a massive overhaul, but a pretty significant overhaul. Jeff, do you want to kind of go through the stages of it now?
So the current state of summoning, this is probably the one I think we're definitely the most happy with and we're moving forward with, is that now instead of summoning simply being you pop out a horror and there's no real cost except the essence aspect to it, now when you summon, you also have to sacrifice one of your marked souls, and the horror you summon also basically pops out of the marked soul that you sacrificed. A significant alteration as a result of this change is that the cultist models, the cultist bands, the Dark Sentinels, are no longer marked souls, which means that the models you have to sacrifice are basically the various, primarily character, but in the case of the Wretch, basically all the various powerful solos that you have in your army. What this means sort of is that there is now much more of a decision tree you're making for where you're going to summon, what you're going to summon, if you are going to summon, because there's a lot more cost associated with it and a lot more positioning associated with it.
Paired with this is that to get essence back on the Infernal Master, you don't have to sack a marked soul anymore, just any non-soulless model in your army.
Basically all the human peeps.
Anybody that's not a horror or an Infernal themselves, like the Howlers and the
And they
Grievers.
still have to be in command range.
Correct.
They have to be in a unit still. They can't just be a cultist
of each other,
standing all back there by himself.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
You sacrifice.
So they have to be in formation.
You sacrifice somebody in your control range. You summon, and this is one of the changes in week 3 within your command range.
So when you are going to sacrifice I gotta go through this little checklist. When you are going to sacrifice a marked soul, it has to be within your command range, and then you can place the horror within on their spot, which has to be your command range. As a byproduct of this, all of the masters went up to command 12, so they all have a parity. They're basically all equally good at summoning, right? Omodemos is good at bopping people. Agathon is great at slinging spells, but when it comes to ripping an extra dimensional monster thing from outside time and space, they're all pretty good at it.
And there's a great Quasitoro on Twitch says, will this mean that Regna can sack a Trencher in Hearts of Darkness? So if Hearts of Darkness remains the same as when you saw at the beginning of CID, where all the models became Infernal models, then Regna would be able to sacrifice one to regain her essence. But in terms of summoning, you can only do that through a marked soul. So unless that Trencher somehow picked up marked soul, there would be no way to summon into them.
And let's actually might as well kind of touch on Hearts of Darkness. We don't have anything to tell you as far as where it's at, but we are redeveloping it. You will not see it in the same state in which we delivered it to you the first time.
So that'll be part of the Oblivion CID, which is the next CID coming. And then after that, I expect will be the Steamroller CID, if I had to guess. And the Oblivion CID is going to touch on some of the other models you're going to see in the Oblivion book that aren't Infernals, the sort of the forces rising to fight them, such as, you see that giant angel there, you can get an idea.
Yeah, and people also got a preview of the concept art for the Hermit Guide.
Yes.
In your thing.
Yeah.
People have been showing pictures of blurry cell phone shots of your presentation slides, and he was on one of those.
Well, no,
and we'll
there's
show you guys a better picture when that CID is closer.
I was going to say another spoiler. During the presentation, we talked about how Oblivion isn't just a book; it's actually a box set. The box set includes a new rules digest that's going to have some updated rules to the core game mechanics that we'll see. Stuff that's just basically streamlining the game in very ways that are going to make a lot of sense to you.
Yeah, really small ways.
Don't call it a remix. It's not. This is just
It's not Mark 12.
It's not Mark 12, but it's going to be a pretty significant update in terms of there will be things that we will point out to you that you'll be like, oh, okay, right?
Yeah.
Then you'll have all the Infernal rules. You'll have the narrative campaign. You're going to have campaign cards in the box set that you need to use to play the narrative campaign. And then there's going to be the Hermit of Hingehold model, like a Mad Prophet, effectively, that you get, and he's going to be usable by a lot of armies. So back on topic. So these changes happened to summoning, and part of the reason was summoning was too good. It was too strong. It was way too powerful. And then a lot of things got tweaked around. I'm honestly still catching up because I was gone the whole time, and I saw there were like various changes that got made. But when you were able to summon them, the only thing you had to sack each turn was a 0.8 point cultist, effectively, before they went up in point value. Like, it was just way too good. So now there's an actual, like, you're turning a 4-point solo into possibly a 12, 13 point horror. Is it worth it? It might be. Ultimately, I think in a game against Infernals, we want to see people summoning 2 to 3 times a game.
Yeah.
Like when it's right.
It should be you summon when it feels like you need to or want to summon, right?
Whereas previously it was I would summon every single turn. Why wouldn't I summon every single turn? And then I end up 131 points up on my opponent.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we're trying to balance is how I do that. And part of that is in the previous version, a lot of the models got nerfed. A lot of the horrors got nerfed and cultists got nerfed because summoning was so strong. With this change to summoning, to tone summoning, the most recent week 3.5 update effectively just did was to revert a bunch of the changes we made.
Yeah.
So we saw like the Mat on the Tormentor go back up. We saw the Rat on the Desolator go back up. We saw the Cultist cost go back down. And Regna can control heavies again. And things like that. So the second update, when you look at it, make sure you go check the first update because that's got like the new rules and the new feats and stuff. The second update was kind of just a reversal.
Yeah, because we had been dialing down the power of some of those models because early summoning was much stronger.
Yes.
And we tried a lot of versions of summoning internally before the CID started.
Yeah.
We had versions that were much more like the middle of the CID summoning. But we went into it with the strongest version, the full combat action, that kind of stuff, just to test at the highest level that we had tested internally, and then to pull it back from there to find that sweet spot.
Sure. There's a couple questions in chat real fast. Legionnaires, we're talking about Oblivion, says, is Oblivion going to be needed for tournaments? Yes. The updated digest that appears in Oblivion is you will need those rules. Now, there will be ways to get those rules as well. You won't necessarily have to go buy the box set. We will make them available to you so that you will know what's happened. But the day Oblivion drops, it's not like I can't go play in a tournament at my local store if I don't go buy that box. If you want to play in the big narrative campaign, you do need to buy the box because it has materials in it to play the storyline. Like Omen cards and things like that. But as for your like local steamroller or just pick up games, you'll be able to get all that stuff day one online. Otherwise, like War Machine would just grind to a halt while people tried to find copies of Oblivion, and that would be bad.
Yeah, I'm almost positive we'll update the rules PDF the same day it drops.
It'll all be in War Room probably and available on the website and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
Mahu says, is there a release for all factions in Oblivion? Not every faction is getting a faction model in Oblivion, but every faction is receiving something in Oblivion. And we will talk more about that as we get closer to its release later on.
And it's CID in April.
And Fluffy Zealot says, will the Hermit be available outside of the box? Not for a long time. We don't have any sort of announcement of when it will be a single blister, so for the time being, he's only in the Oblivion box. Dragon Pup, will the updated Oblivion rules be available for free online too? We will have more announcement about how those rules will be distributed. I mean, right now all the rules are online for free, so you can imagine that's what we're going to do. But with our website currently in a transitional period, we're waiting to announce how you will get that. But don't worry, the day Oblivion drops, it's not going to be a panic to try and get what you need to play. We will make sure everybody no matter how you play the game, from hardcore competitive down to just battle box only casual, you'll have these updated rules in your hand at the easiest possible way we can get them to you without you having to spend a bunch of money.
Yeah, or like go to your store and they've sold out and oh no.
Yeah, things sell out.
Yeah.
Darkness says, is Oblivion mainly War Machine oriented or Hordes also involved as well? Oblivion touches everything. Oblivion is the game.
Yeah.
In its totality.
There is no Devourer Worm model though in Oblivion. There's no
Elish Nair wants a
there's no-
Devour Worm model.
bigger than the table mouth.
I mean, we can make like part of the head as long as Mordecai's soul's in it being chewed up.
Sure, you could do a tooth that was as big as a person.
Yeah.
A human person, like standing at the table human, not like a person on the table.
And Mark Carter says, didn't realize Oblivion was a box set. What's the drop date? We'll have more on that later.
Yeah.
Expect Q3, Q4, definitely later this year, but I say expect more details to come soon. We'll have firm dates to give you as soon as that's all ready.
Yeah. Do we want to sort of hit the models kind of from top to bottom real quick?
Yep. We're gonna kind of
Okay.
we're gonna hit categories and
Yeah.
then stop and sort of see what
Yeah.
people are talking about. So the next category to talk about is changes to the masters themselves, which involves Agathon having the feat completely reworked into Well of Sorrow.
Yeah, over the last week, Agathon's kind of gotten a fresh spell list. Got a new ability called Dark Mysteries, which we updated the other day. It used to previously only trigger off of Mark Souls. Obviously, with the changes to Mark Souls, that was sort of an indirect, accidental nerf to that ability. Has since been updated, so it triggers off of.
So Tony, you actually have the old rules up there.
Yeah.
So I would say let's just for confusion's sake, let's just pop those off.
Yeah.
That is the old rules you were looking at. Go check cid.privateerpress.com to make sure you were seeing the most current version, because Well of Sorrow now does something completely different.
So
Well,
now,
we
the
wanted
feat
this
is definitely
model-
the big hitter.
To be about arcane power.
Yep.
We wanted to be about spellcasting, controlling magic. This is more than likely, I mean, Doug can talk more about this next week, but this is more than likely one of the actual characters that made the deal with Thamar to give humans magic. Because Infernals are immortal, infinite weird beings from outside time and space.
Infinitely weird beings.
And this guy's got all the scrolls, and possibly one of those is the contract.
Yeah.
So this guy controls magic, fundamentally.
In fact, I definitely want to see someone write out a ridiculous contract on the model
and
scroll.
a
being
Thamar
like-
Resnick
signature at
style?
the bottom.
Yeah, and just be like, we'll give magic in exchange for
All this.
candy and souls and
Candy. So we revamped this feat to be a big, impactful spellcasting feat.
It increases the cost of enemy spells by 1 inside Agathon's control range.
which
and
is
it also,
basically infinite.
Sure.
Well,
and then
yes.
also gives all friendly faction models in Agathon's control range signs importance for attack and damage on magic attacks.
And it gives you
Well,
and all enemies
yeah.
as well.
And all enemies
Yeah.
as well, sorry.
Except you get to
every-
choose which die to draw.
For a round, every magic attack roll rolls an extra die,
And you choose.
and the Agathon player chooses.
Very
So-
similar to almost like a roulette.
Yeah, it's roulette-ish, right? I mean, there's a few crit effects you might be fishing for, but generally you're going to use it like signs of importance, just drop your lowest, and when your opponent attacks, you've basically got star-crossed on, again, their attack and damage. Against some armies, this is very strong. If you're facing Wolves of Winter and they're going Doom Reaver heavy and they're playing like Butcher, this feat doesn't do a lot,
Yeah.
but it does still, it also,
Always still hits your own stuff.
it always still hits your own stuff. I think Wolves of Winter, Doom River Heavy is probably the worst list you can play into because of the amount of anti-magic they've got going on. So your Hellmouths and stuff aren't going to be as viable. But I think and that's extreme, right? I think as soon as you slide down from that, this feat just gets stronger and stronger. And then some armies, it's a nightmare. Like Ron with a bunch of battle mages, and you throw this out, and they're not getting anything done on their turn.
Yeah, and this also bumps up the Dark Sentinels in those cultist lists a little bit because they have an attack spell.
Yeah.
So this can get you more.
Also,
action with those.
lets Regna kind of Hail Mary throw out and try and hit.
It does make Regna's Hellfires or whatever
Yep.
she has Hellfire.
And,
More accurate.
Matthew Lacombe says, isn't this like a worse Scavarius feat? Or is it Scavarus? I'm going to go with Scavarus, not Scavarius. That's a weird way to pronounce that. I pronounced that incorrectly. No, it is
job.
not a worse
Good job.
Scavarus feat. Because being able to pick and choose the die on both attack and damage for all of your models and your opponent's models on their magic attacks is potentially really, really strong. So I would not say it's flat out worst.
No.
Omedemo's got a small change. Lost Vengeful, picked up Flashing Blade.
Yep.
Because Vengeful wasn't doing enough, and Flashing Blade always does.
And those big giant maces are even scarier when just flails them like mad at you.
Yep.
Zadaroth didn't really see a whole lot of changes in this update. The last thing that we really did to her is we moved the Long Shadows over to her from Valen Hawk, and we gave her a little bit of a boost to her feet, +3 defense instead of +2. I think we're pretty happy with where Zadaroth is in general. We could definitely see a couple more tweaks to her if we keep getting more playtest data back. I've been kind of collating things and going through all the reports. But Zadaroth feels like she's settling pretty well, so if you feel strongly about any of the things on her, definitely get your playtests in and let us know.
Yep. I just noticed, Jeff, can I tilt your head one way or the other?
Can I tilt my
like,
head?
like kind of tilt your head like out of the way. I'm trying to see the shield
Sorry, hold on.
on the angel. Can you see the symbol from here? I don't think you get.
It looks like a Morrowind symbol.
I mean,
I've got a big round head.
It looks like a Morrowind.
it just
symbol.
is
like
a
an egg.
Morrowind symbol. We don't have to say it looks like.
I mean, I'm squinting. It looks like one.
It just is.
The Morrowind symbol is like half a sunburst with a thing coming out of the bottom. Yeah.
I'm excited for everybody to see all the archons.
I just like that there's a thing on top of my head.
Because there's more than one. So next category we should talk about, now that we've talked about the casters, is the changes to the horrors. And one of the things we saw done across the board was make sure that every horror had some kind of passive ability.
Yep.
So that when they showed up, the turns that you summoned them, when they didn't have their combat action, they still had something
to do.
Something to do.
An impact they could have.
We didn't completely think that combat actions would be 100% broken when we started the CID.
Y'all
and
didn't.
And we didn't also know if maybe synergy was going to change or maybe something else was going to change. So we wanted to start it there. And then everything else shaking out where it did. This adjustment was basically, you're never going to get that combat action back. But that turn you summon the horror, it will have
Something to
an
do.
immediate effect, especially during your opponent's turn,
Yeah.
before you get to activate.
The combat actions, and I think I even said this at the beginning, was always something that concerned me.
Yeah,
And the CID
yeah.
kind of proved it out. It was
Yeah.
just way too much to be able to summon something wherever. It didn't really matter. Like even your caster could charge up and summon it next to you, and then if that thing could then charge off for free, we've seen what happened in the CID, right? I think this change that we've made to where now they have an effect the turn you summon them, even though they can't attack, is good. It gives more choices, and it actually does what we want the summoning to do, is that each horror has like a toolboxy kind of effect, even if it's a minor one. It's something you might reach for and decide, I need this in the moment. Like the Soul Takers picked up Soul Ward, so that nobody else can get the souls within its range.
Yeah.
The Tormentor picked up Countercharge, which is a great board position ability. Like, I'm going to put
It's
you
always
here.
just a strong thing to have on a model.
Yeah, your opponent knows about, like, a good player's never going to trigger countercharge unless they want to.
Yes.
But they now have to play around that bubble of countercharge. It changes their order of operations, and the fact that you can summon that on the fly to suddenly have that is really strong. And it's going to take people a second to wrap their head around it.
It adds some really interesting interactions to the game and how some Infernals work.
Yeah.
Because you got situations where you're like, Kezia is over here, she shoots a model, she triggers her running gun and cruises over behind enemy lines, and you're like, cool, then I put a Tormentor there, and there's this countercharging thing behind you, so now you have to go and divert resources to either occupying or killing that, which can really mess up your opponent's plans.
The Shrieker picked up Wailing.
Yeah.
Again, really strong. I mean, you drop this thing and you get it into position, right? And your opponent can go kill the Shrieker before the unit it might be affecting with Wailing, which prevents runs and charges, before that unit activates. But again, you're messing with your opponent's order of activations, especially like if you kind of jam said unit up with the Shrieker. Not only can they not charge because they might take free strikes, but you're just screwing up the opponent's plans. I really like that on the Shrieker. I am a little concerned. Wailing might be a bit strong on what is one of the already like most taken strong
Sure.
infernal monsters, but we'll see. And then thematically, my favorite is the Desolator picking up Anathema, where it drops down and basically brings a Scather template with it. Like that is a cloud effect, and that's, to me, again, seems just like a really cool ability. Like, you need to block off line of sight because you've got a forest and a building here. You can, like, boom, one drops there. Or you just need to block off a bunch of single wound infantry from getting into your line. Just boom. Here's this heavy. I traded a 4-point solo, or wretch, for this heavy now, right? That brought with it this cloud. And if you don't kill the heavy, which you might not be able to with your single wound weapon masters, your Knight Exemplar, or whatever, because of the cloud, this is, I think, what we wanted to see out of Infernals.
Yeah. And we kind of already, and the ones that we didn't touch were like the Forebodar and the Lamenter, because we realized they kind of had what we were looking for. They were
they were the
missing,
inspiration for this. Is
because
that
the forebodder is the channeler,
Yeah.
and the lamenter has the soul parasites, which has that the
debuff.
The attack or reduction.
And we also, in some of those changes, we had dropped the essence stat on the lamenter down to give it that free soul parasites, but now with some of those other reversions, we went back to 3 essence, but it still has free soul parasites.
Yep. So this is going to be a really interesting week of the summoning change where it's at, and then the change to the horror package to make them be this toolbox of abilities and things you can do. I've been paying attention to the social media. The changes have definitely been well discussed. Some people loved it, thought it was a great move. Some people were unsure until they tested. Some people had very strong negative reactions. However you feel about it, I'd say get a game in and then go to cid.privateerpress.com and report your game to us and let us know.
And use the feedback form too.
We said at the beginning of this that the summoning mechanic was going to be the absolute hardest thing to balance.
Yeah.
And we think we're at the place where summoning works the way we want it to. And now we're going to adjust everything else around it.
Yeah.
So the
like,
horrors already came back up in power.
Yeah.
Other things might get tweaked to make that summoning worth it.
And those are all super simple dials for us to turn. Like
part
of we sort of pitched horrors as kind of glass cannons because you get to bring them, you just got to make them, right? But so now that we've at the state where, they're not coming in at the cost of just a cultist, for example, and they get their combat action. Now that we've kind of dialed in how we want something to work, now we can start doing things like, maybe they're a little too fragile. Maybe we give them boxes. Maybe we give them armor. Maybe we give there's so many little dials that are very, very easy for us to turn there to make sure that everything kind of settles into the right place. People are coming up with examples like, dual attack. Or, there's lots of rules, armor, defense, boxes, rat, all those kinds of things are very easy for us to change now that we have something in the place where we really like it.
Yeah. And feedback that says things like, it's very edge case for me to ever want to summon this horror because the cost of spending one of my important sport solos or whatever, that's fine. Maybe you never summon a forebodder except when you really, really, really need to. But having an arc node out somewhere, especially if it's off Kezia or somebody else that like Val and Hawk that can get somewhere because they're fast, that might win you a game sometime.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, sure, you might not ever summon foreboders in a normal circumstance. You might just start with 1 or 2 in your battle group, or whatever, to cover that. But
there is going to be those
there's still going to be situations where that might be the best piece to put on the table at that one point.
1 in 10 games or 1 in 20 games where you're like, wait a second, the way I win this game, my path to victory is Val and Hawk needs to run up and die to become a 4-point forebodder so that I can arc node into my enemy caster.
War Machine is too complex a game to say it'll always be the same every single time.
Yes.
A couple questions. People have been talking about the Archons again because we're showing off this sweet Archon over here. And I made the comment there will be multiple Archons. So I do want to take a second because Archons are going to appear in Oblivion. Better check them out. So far, people have... Gonzo has asked for a pumpkin-headed Grimkin Archon. That won't be happening. John Galvin has asked for Barnabas 3 as the Gator Archon. My God, I wish that was happening.
Darius 2 Halfjack Archon?
And Mark Carter's asked for a Darius 2 Halfjack Archon. Done. Sold.
Tiniest
Pitch
little robot Archons. Anyway, back to a real thing. Ponto Hornblower.
It's a real thing. It's right there.
Yes.
She got a spear.
Asked about a chance for the gate to be involved in the summoning process again. We have talked about that internally.
We'll be talking about that today.
We are basically, we're looking at the gate to make it a valuable and important piece in the army because it's going to be a big centerpiece model. So we are talking about the gate, but we don't have any direction right now that we want to go verbally here.
Yes.
Because we are discussing different things that can happen.
Yep. So we're going to move on to the solos because I talked already about Regnus changes and I talked about the cultist changes already, which you can go read up on all the individual minutia. But there were also some
You want to hit units real super fast just to get it out of the way?
Sure.
Cultists went down back to their cheaper point cost.
And they picked up a higher range on their heal.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so did Howlers. Howlers went back down to their
Howlers went back down.
cost.
Regna can summon heavy horrors. You're caught up. These are just small quality life changes.
Regna has to start with a horror now, though, too.
Yeah.
So there's a difference there.
Yeah. Just want to get that one out real fast.
Real fast, the Archon talk. I'm just because I do want to remind people that Infernals are just the beginning. You're going to see this in the Oblivion CID next, which is all the great stuff in there. And I know that people are excited because it's the first time we've shown one of the Angels. But a Lord of the Feast Archon is not happening. He got his own Facebook page. Does he really need to be an Archon too? Nah. We should give one Vendetta Lord of the Feast. Let's move on to the solos.
Yep.
The Wretch got a pretty
The Wretch got a big change.
Yeah.
So, as we've discussed at great length already in this chat, is we took away, there's no combat actions. How we are sort of making them pseudo have combat actions is the Wretch picked up ancillary. And you can have 3 the Wretch-I.
Yep.
And we also increased their cost accordingly to 4 points.
Well, we also gave him Entropic Force as well.
So we swapped out the...
Mortal Fear.
Thank you. Mortal Fear for Entropic Force.
Yeah, and that's something that we had already went back and forth on months ago in internal testing, because Entropic Force was a rule on that model 9 months ago or something like that.
There's no change to the Infernal Gate right here, aside from the Lost Infernal Portal, and like we've been mentioning, there's going to be some more stuff coming on. But I see a lot of questions about the Infernal Gate, and real fast I want to address one. Nathan Frawley in Facebook says, can you explain why anyone should take the Infernal Gate? Well, there'll be some changes regarding summoning, but one of the big changes, the reasons to take it is because of knowledge of the Damned on something that you're guaranteed to have souls on every turn in a Command 12. So if it doesn't have souls, it generates its own. Also, it can collect souls.
Also a pretty good gun.
Well, let's say it didn't even have the gun.
Sure.
It just hands out rerolls guaranteed every turn in a fairly large bubble. Now, on top of that, it's got a gun, it's got reinforcements, Infernals, it does a lot of other cool things, but rerolls are just strong. Like, they're one of the strongest things you can give out that isn't a flat stat bump. And being able to consistently do it in a very large space, that's a model your opponent has attacked that's not one of the models that's killing them. Then you make the Gate actually have a gun and do other things. So, even if the Gate didn't do anything with summoning, it's still a really strong piece, but we're going to be adding more to it.
And just for clarity, it's the Soulless Infantry is what it brings back. So it brings back Grievers and Howlers.
When I said reinforcement Infernals, I mean, it's basically what it is.
Bring back Horrors.
It's basically reinforcement. So anyway, you'll see more on that. The other big change in terms of solos was Mordecai. Mordecai got...
Mordecai has been a fully transparent, a problem model, because his So Discord is extremely strong. The Tactician, he basically had an extremely huge package of extremely powerful abilities. This happened a while ago, but we did move the Tactician to Valen. It's actually where it originally was, on Valen. Way back in the long ago when the sun was cold. Or I don't know, it was cold at some point. Anyways,
his most problematic ability was the So Discord.
Yes, so that we removed that. It basically was like a rebuke on a stick.
It was a rebuke that didn't need to hit. At first, didn't need line of sight; just had to be in range. That's just gone completely now. Now it removes Pathfinder. So you've got Curse, you've got the Shadow ability,
which is like a pursuit style,
and now you've got the remove Pathfinder. So you're probably going to end up using Curse the most.
Yes,
but I think he still does a suite of pretty rad things.
What do we have next besides Mordecai? Who's next on your list?
The last thing to talk about is the Infernal Gate, which we just talked about. We'll have a lot more coming up.
So we have been discussing the Infernal Gate actively. We discussed it at length yesterday. We're going to continue that discussion today. We definitely want to give it some kind of summoning hook, right? Now, how that ends up settling, we're not prepared to say until we actually have an update out there for you. But we definitely want to look at things like how it affects summoning, if it does affect summoning, what that ends up taking shape.
Part of it was we just made this big change to how summoning works. Then we made the change to the horrors themselves and having these new passive abilities. And we wanted to get some data from that first before we create what could become a cornerstone piece that makes summoning even stronger, right? So get those reports in. We've got till the end of this week. We've got till Friday. So we have today, tomorrow, and Friday. And the CID does end on Friday.
No, Monday.
Oh, is it Monday?
Yep.
Yeah,
See,
we close it.
I was going to Gamma
Monday
for a week. I lose track of all time and space.
So everybody has the weekend to give us more reports and feedback.
And while the CID forums will be closing on Monday, let's be super real. The CID kind of goes on for another week because we're going to be at Adepticon. There's going to be a lot of players there talking to us about Infernals. So, as for updates and stuff, we've been definitely trying to maintain a pretty
adjust my mic real fast.
Sure. get that mic adjustment in there. We've been definitely trying to have a very fast pace on iterating on models. At this point, a lot of those iterations are going to be things like point adjustments, an arm or a mat or a thing, right? A stat boost here or there. Will we have an update today? Maybe.
Yeah. Possibly. We're
If
gonna
we
talk
don't
about
have
it.
one today, it will probably be one tomorrow then. It'll either be way later this afternoon today or sometime tomorrow morning. But yeah, we'd like to get an update out that has some cool new changes.
Yep. So come join us there. So let's get to a couple questions before we wrap up the chat today. First off, Thomas Grable, who is a fantastic person for all the narrative events at Adepticon and Lock and Load. Thomas, I hope I get to see you there. Asked, will we have any cool stuff to show at Adepticon? Yes, we're going to have a bunch of pre-releases at Adepticon. We're going to have a bunch of cool stuff. We have not announced what they are yet, but they're send your ninjas if you're not coming to Adepticon. A bunch of cool stuff.
I actually want to address this question real quick on the Twitch chat. That are we worried that since something took so long to dial in, we're not going to have enough time for dialing the stats? I'm not worried about that at all. We have almost a week basically to get that stuff in, and you'll notice that in general we haven't been making huge adjustments. Like Howlers are just pretty good the way they are. Grievers are just pretty good. A point adjustment here, or a mat, or a rat, or a pow, or things like that. Those are pretty light little things, and they feel pretty locked in general with only minor tweaks. I think we can definitely, that combined with the fact that we will definitely be taking some time post CID for more internal play tests and looking at these things, that I think we will end up at a very good place for all these models.
So we've got a couple questions to hit. So let's get to this one first. Hugo on Facebook says, when can we hope to see the Grimkin and Talon updates? Heads up everybody, especially those of you going to Adepticon, there is a chance that you will see the Grimkin update happen before Adepticon begins. Most of you this won't affect. What it basically does is it makes the updates to the theme forces of Grimkin that let the Malady Man be in part of those.
The Malady Man, the Grave Ghoul.
All that kind of stuff. What it does change is there's a change to Alchemical Mask coming up, which is purely clerical.
Purely clerical.
So if you're playing an Adepticon, that's the only thing you don't have to worry about, and it should be live because obviously if you're playing Grimkin and you want to pick up models there and you can paint them in time, because Adepticon does have fully painted requirements, and use them. We're hoping to have those theme forces updated.
The Italian update will happen later
after Adepticon. The Grimkin one should happen before Adepticon.
Yeah, we're trying to squeeze the Grimkin one in before Adepticon.
And just let's be fully transparent here. There's not huge radical changes coming to the game in this update, so don't sweat that we're dropping you some bomb.
It's only a few. It's only a few things.
Basically the models from Grimkin.
Mostly fixing those theme forces.
Travis brings up a good point. For those of you, remember there was a change to Pillars of Salt on Mosar. We do have a new version that is coming down the pipe. It's probably coming for Adepticon. If it isn't, I will tell you that Travis and I at Adepticon will just be playing with that new version. We'll announce it to everyone there. It basically fixes a lot of the problems with the current Pillar of Salt. Pillars of Salt now are still going to be models like they are in the current spell. But they pick up a lot of the rules that objectives have. They can't be moved, they can't be placed, they can't be slammed, they can't be thrown, they can't be prayed, they can't be channeled through, they can't be engaged or engaging. So use the spell that you see now and sort of apply the objective rules from Steamroller to it, minus that you can move through your own Pillars of Salt. It's still a thing that blocks line of sight that you can't move through. That update should be going out soon as well, but I can tell you that Adepticon will definitely be playing with that because the current version has problems.
Striker 911 on Twitch. Other than summoning, what changes are you most concerned about? Well, not most concerned about, but the things that I definitely want us to touch on and get really dialed in are the gate, which we're going to talk about today. I'd like to make maybe Kezia a little bit more impactful, a little bit more fun potentially. Those are my big hit list at the moment off the top of my head.
Yeah, and we want, of course, a bunch of feedback on the changes to Mordecai and some of those other models that got some drastic changes.
Yep. Somebody asked, are there new theme forces coming in Oblivion? So just to everyone get an idea of the scope of Oblivion, Infernals are just a part of Oblivion. Infernals are a chapter of Oblivion. There is a ton of new stuff coming in Oblivion, including new theme forces. So that's part of what the Oblivion CID is going to be when that happens next, is going to be those other models that are not Infernals, those other theme forces like Hearts of Darkness and other things similar to it. So there's a lot coming for us to test. And then there's the entire, like I said, narrative campaign that you have all of the Omen cards and other materials in the box set to play with your friends. So Oblivion's a big, big release with a lot going on. And Infernals are they're a fraction of it. A big, a decent sized
They're a
fraction.
big chunk of it, but they're not the
but
entire.
they're not the
release.
entire book.
I mean, that guy.
DGC during Greg Clampett says, is there going to be summoning in Archons? Nope. But Archons are also not a faction.
Yeah.
No.
Archons are things that everybody that isn't an Infernal gets access to if you get the right kind of them. I mean, obviously, this Archon may not help out everybody.
I keep thinking you guys are pointing at me, and then I remember there's a thing behind me.
I don't know that a Morrowind Archon would help out the Scorn, but I could think of other ones that might.
Keep doing it.
We'll find out. All right. So I think we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up. Join us tomorrow with Jordan Lamb for Get Your Paint On at 10. Don't forget, everyone, next week, we're not here. So
Yes.
Wednesday will be replaced by Lore Chat.
Doug Seacat giving them
Yep,
hot
next
sea
week.
facts.
Yep. Also, come see us this Friday for Primecast Live before we basically all leave for Adepticon.
Yep.
And want to show off one more time? Oh, no, Tony, put that mini crate back up there. Look at that sweet angel.
Yeah.
If you want to get your dude, that thing with googly eyes would look ridiculous.
Everything looks better with googly eyes.
Yeah, but I gotta see it now.
Especially if it's 2 different sizes.
Make sure you hit up minicrate, minicrate.com/L5R to pick up your models, especially if you're a Legend of the Five Rings fan. Bayushi is running out of time to order him before it switches to the next model.
Like
Yeah.
showed you.
And another little reminder, remember the Infernal Fridays are every other Friday. So we had a lot of questions the first time we didn't do one of like, what happened to Infernal Fridays? It's every other Friday. So, yeah.
It's true. I think the next one's March 29th, actually.
Yes, it's the weekend of Adepticon when we're all out.
And come
That's
and see
when
us
the
at
next one will
Adepticon.
be.
Yeah, I see a
Yeah.
couple people in chat saying no Riot Quest. Well, today was the CID talk about Infernals, but if you want to talk about Riot Quest, come hang out with me at Adepticon. We can talk about Riot Quest the
I'll talk about
entire
Riot Quest.
time.
Yeah, we're going to be
I'm
talking about
there.
Riot Quest more the closer we get to the summer.
I will not have it
That kind of
available to
stuff.
play, but I did just see the first 5 painted models that Jordan did, and they look amazing. I hope we get to show them off soon. And we will see you all tomorrow with Jordan. Then again at Primecast on Friday. Till then, take it easy.
Bye.
Look at that sweet angel.
Oh, it's gone forever.
That should be our go away screen from now on. The subscribe should be under the.